Hi YouTube, Kat here from herbalprepper.com, herbal remedies for SHTF and beyond. Today I'm making Arnica Infused oil. This is a great first herbal project, so if you haven't worked with herbs at all, feel free to try this out. This is very, very simple. It's also a vital component to any quality herbal first aid kit. So if you've never made infused oils before, you know, they're very simple, but if you'd like more information on the various methods, all the different options that you have in making infused oils, please check out my blog where I've written a very thorough article specifically on how to make infused oils, and I've included the link to that article below. Today, I am going to be demonstrating the Crockpot method. This is my absolute favorite way to make infused oils. As you can see, I've got my Crockpot and I've got all of my accessories here. I've got my bag of Arnica. I've got various oils. I've got coconut oil, hemp seed oil, olive oil. I've got a bunch of spoons, measuring spoon here, but that's more for digging out the coconut oil than actually measuring. Over here, I want to show you, I have a bottle of oil that I've already made. This is just so you can see what the finished product looks like before you end up putting it in, whatever other product you want to use Arnica oil in, like a healing salve or whatnot. But after I'm done with it, I strain everything out into my very large glass strainer here. This was made by Anchor, and that is made in the USA. So unfortunately, there's no Crockpots made in the US, otherwise I would have one. But I have a mesh strainer sitting in that, and I'll put some cheesecloth in there, and I'll use that to strain out every last bit of healing oil from the herbs after we're done. And this green thing up here, in case you don't know what that is something you absolutely have to have if you're going to be making herbal remedies here and using mason jars. This is a wide mouth jar. This will make your life much, much simpler. So please invest a little bit of money in that. They're nothing, but I mean, I got mine as part of a kit of canning supplies. So if you're a prepper anyway, you may as well want to go ahead and get yourself a canner and some canning supplies. So you should have that on hand anyway. Let's see. Use your Crockpot on the warm setting. This is a setting below the low setting. Most Crockpots have a high and a low. Some of them don't have a warm setting. So look for a Crockpot that has a warm setting. If you don't have that, your low setting may not actually be a low enough temperature, and you don't want to cook your oils. An even better option is one of the newer, fancier Crockpots, or even the electric roasters that have programmable temperatures on them, and you can set that, and you don't ever have to worry about cooking your oils into oblivion. I mean, you want to warm the oil. You don't want to cook it. If your oil's simmering, it's too hot and you've ruined it. You want warm temperatures, not cooking temperatures. Now, if this were a garlic infused oil, this is a perfect method to make garlic infused oil because it can be done in as little as 2 hours. And garlic, which we're not making today, but garlic infused oil, if you make it in the traditional cold infused, let it sit in the mason jar with some oil over it, will go rancid within the time that you're making it, usually like 6 weeks. This won't happen in a Crockpot because you'll be done in 2 hours. But for just about every other herb out there, 2 hours isn't going to get you to a strong enough oil. At a minimum, you want your herbs to be steeping and infusing in this oil in the Crockpot for at least 6 hours, but ideally you'd want to be going for longer than that. So 12 hours, 24 hours, up to 2 weeks if you can spare your Crockpot. I generally can't in my house, so this is going to be infusing for about 3 days, and then I'm going to need to free up my Crockpot. Anyway, when you're done, you're going to let the Crockpot cool down, and you're going to strain out the herbs, and I mean it. Get the cheesecloth out, wring out every last drop of that oil. I also sometimes will get my French press, and I'll put the plants remaining that from this process into it, and I'll just really push down really hard, and I'll squeeze out every last bit of that oil. Sorry, we're back. I had to just take a couple of minutes to dig out the coconut oil. Coconut oil, if you're unaware, is solid at room temperature, and I wanted to get that into the crock pot and melting so that I can get this going. And I'm just going to turn the crock pot onto the warm setting. I don't know if you can see that. There's a glare coming in, but that's the warm setting on my crock pot. So I dug out about a cup of coconut oil, and then I put in about a cup of hemp seed oil. After I add the arnica flower, I'm going to add some organic olive oil to this just to get the oil level up and above all of the plant material. That's the most important thing here. It's not so much about the ratios or of how much oil to how much herb, and you don't have to be very precise about this. All you have to do is cover the herb in oil. Again, we're using arnica. This has to be in your first aid kit in some fashion, if at all possible. Also, if there's any way that you can grow this in your home survival herbal garden, arnica is just, this is a valuable plant. And I want you to think about trying to grow it now. Well, not now, like as in this month, but add this into your preparedness plans, add this into your garden. Arnica has been used to relieve pain from arthritis, carpal tunnel, tendonitis, sprained ankles, broken bones, you name it. This is well known for its anti-inflammatory properties. It, reduces the pain and bruising and swelling from, muscle, tendon, and ligament injuries. This is a very beneficial remedy to have on hand, and you're going to want to be able to duplicate this. If we were faced with an SHTF situation and supply lines are down and you're not able to just go online and order, another pound of it or another couple of pounds of arnica flower, you want the ability to be able to duplicate this in your home garden. Let's see, this is a topical remedy, meaning this is only an external remedy. You do not take this internally. You do not ingest this. You do not apply this to broken skin. Topical Arna is often cited as not being safe during pregnancy, but you're not going to find many citations as to why it's unsafe during pregnancy. And that's really, more helpful to know as to know why it's contraindicated during pregnancy. The only issue that I have been able to find, and this is after searching on PubMed and looking through really quality herbal books, the only thing I can find is that arnica can arnica can increase bleeding, which is partially why you don't put it on why you don't put it on broken skin. If you're bleeding, you don't put this on because you want the blood to clot. Pregnant women from the second trimester on have extra blood clotting factors to help prevent hemorrhage during labor. So you don't want to be messing around with that. So in that respect, I can understand it. I can understand the contraindication for it. The other thing is that there's also other remedies for pain during pregnancy that you might be able to avail yourself to, but I'm going to leave that up to you all to investigate and make a determination for in yourself. If you are in absolutely severe pain, maybe it's an option for you, but I would probably look for safer alternatives. That would be my advice on that one. This here that I'm using today is Arnica montana or mountain arnica. And it looks a lot like calendula, which is why you really need to be very sure of the retailer that you buy it from. I don't know if you can see that in the bag there. If you're buying this, be very sure that you're getting this from a reputable dealer. This is a plant that's becoming very difficult to get. Another very good reason why you should try to grow it. But less reputable places will try to cut it with calendula because it looks very similar when it's dried. So again, if you can't grow Arnica montana where you live, because Arnica montana prefers to be in the mountains, hence its name, it needs a high elevation to thrive. You can certainly try growing meadow Arnica, and the proper name for that is Arnica, oh gosh, chamisonis. I'm not very good with these names, but Arnica chamisonis. And that might be easier for you to grow, and I do recommend that you try doing so. You know, again, so I've got a selection of oils here. Like I said, the coconut oil, the hemp seed oil, the olive oil, and I'm fortunate because right now times are still good. I have the option of having these oils, you know, just sent to my door. Or go into the grocery store, I could find all of these oils as well. This might be something that you want to stock up on in bulk, because if supply lines were to go down, you know, we're not going to be importing coconut oil. Hemp seed oil would grow around here, but it's not legal to grow. And olive oil in certain parts of the country might be able to do this, but, you know, I'm not going to be able to do it in New England. So I'm probably going to do a video on alternatives for these things at some point down the road, but do try to look for oils and waxes and fats that you can source locally to you. That's just part of good prepping. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to take the lid off, and the coconut oil is not nearly melted yet, but I'm just going to go ahead. Let me put this lid back here somewhere just for the time being. And this, when the bag was full, it was 3 ounces. This is only half of the bag. It was 3 ounces to start, so it's about 1.5 ounces. And this actually spreads out more than you'd expect here. Hold on. Let me try to get this camera over here so you can see this. And there's some of that coconut oil melting already. It's pretty fluffy stuff. So a little will go a long way, but there we go. So you can see how this could be faked with calendula, if you're familiar with what that looks like at all. All right, I'm going to put the olive oil in now. Let me try to get this camera back to where you're going to be able to see this. I feel like I need a production crew here. All right. And I'm just going to cover the oil. Cover the herbs with oil. Because if you don't, well, it's not such a big deal in the crock pot. It shouldn't get moldy unless you leave it in the crock pot unattended for a long period of time. But, you know, you don't want the material outside the oil anyway, because then it's not infusing into anything. So this uses up a lot more oil than you'd think. So I have another couple of bottles here to put in. And I'm just going to, let me see, get this in here. And then I'm going to pause the camera real quickly. And then I'm just going to finish putting the oil in here. And I'll show you what this looks like in just a moment. Okay, and we're back. I ended up putting another quart of oil in. So all told, there's about 8 cups of olive oil, a cup of hemp oil. Well, excuse me, hemp seed oil. I got to be very clear about that, because this is not the THC-laden hemp oil. This is the hemp seed oil that you can get at the grocery store. And also another cup of coconut oil. And the reason that I picked those oils is that, well, you know, the coconut oil has some antibacterial and antifungal properties, and that's always nice to add. And, you know, both coconut oil and the olive oil will resist rancidity. The hemp seed oil, however, has some anti-inflammatory properties, and this oil is ultimately going into a pain relief salve. So having all of that together, I thought that was a nice combination. But honestly, it really doesn't matter so much about the ratios used here. It matters that you get all the herbs covered and that, you know, they all infuse inside the oil, because it's sort of a waste if the herbs are, you know, stuck to the sides of the crock pot and not actually infusing. If you were to use a mason jar instead and use the, it's called the cold infusion method, and you can read more about this on my blog, you would be filling the jar up to the top with your plant material, and then you'd be pouring the oil in, and you'd have to be removing some of the air bubbles that would float to the top, and you'd have to be checking it to make sure that excuse me, that you weren't growing mold in it, or that the oil wasn't going rancid if you keep it in a sunny window. So it's a little bit more complicated that way. I really like this Crockpot method because it gives me a lot more control over the entire process. Now, as far as how long this is going to take, I'm going to be allowing this to steep for about 3 days because I can't really spare this crock pot any longer than that. So in about 3 days time, I'm going to come back and I'll videotape all of this for you guys. And I'm going to let that cool off a little bit at that point. And then I'm going to come over, I'm going to get that cheesecloth out and I'm going to strain it. And I'll bottle that up for you. And then I'm going to be using this for a pain relieving salve. And I'll be making that video also. I don't know if you can see my little vinegar project over there in the background. But anyway, I'm going to be, I'll be videotaping how to make this pain relieving salve using Arnica as well as a bunch of other ingredients. So I do hope that you tune in for that as well. And now, if you would like to work along with me, this is actually going to be the first video in a series of projects in order to make your own herbal first aid kit. I have linked to everything that you'll need to make this Arnica oil down below. I hope that you check that out. This is a really wonderful beginning to working with herbs. I hope that this inspires you to include herbs in your emergency preparations. You know, and thank you for putting up with my very first video. I'm sure that there's probably tons of errors people want to point out here, but I really enjoyed making this for you. So this has been Kat from herbalprepper.com. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time.